What's up, photography world? Josh Grasso here from theshutterschool.com. For today, I got a quick lighting tutorial for you. Had a recent wedding this weekend. I didn't have a behind-the-scenes photographer for me, so what I am going to do is show some before and afters and kind of walk through a quick technique on how I created a portrait of the bride and then the bride and groom in a wine cellar, and also a couple tips on how I used Magmod flash mattifiers for the shoot. So as you can see from the before photo, it was a fluorescent lit room. It's a pretty room for the most part. I mean, it's wine barrels everywhere, but the lighting isn't great. If you were to do a portrait down here, it's not going to look so hot. So what I wanted to do was definitely use this pattern of the wine barrels. It's a cool background for sure. It's a cool scene. It's a cool texture. It's a nice simple background. It helps tell the story of being married at the winery. So you definitely want to try to use these wine barrels. But as you can see, the color of them, it's not very rich. It's all even fluorescent lighting. Doesn't look as bad. So we can save the day with some lighting. So whenever you have a scenario where the lighting's not too great or the scenery is bland, you can give it a little pop with some lights. So the first thing to do is to light the background. So usually when I want to light a portrait and do a more creative, dramatically lit portrait, I want to get the background dialed in first. So to get the background lit, I've got a flash on the floor with my on-camera trigger. To trigger it, I've got a full CTO gel because I really wanted to add a lot of color. I wanted to give it that real strong candlelit look. We're kind of down in a wine dungeon, you know, imagining like the ambiance is like that nice candlelit look. So I went full CTO so I can really add a lot of color. And then I put the mag sphere on the flash just to make sure that that flash spread out as much as possible so we can hit as many of the wine barrels as possible. A lot of people think the mag sphere is for like softening the light, and it doesn't necessarily soften it because it's still a small light source. But what it can do is spread that light out much more evenly and in a much wider field of view. So I have this on relatively low power. Okay, so first thing I did, I had a 35mm lens on. I made sure to get a dark exposure so that most of the color is coming from the flash and not the ambient light. And so to do that, I had to get a 1/60th of a second shutter speed, aperture 2.5, ISO 160 to get it nice and dark. And then I just put in the flash power required to get it to where the barrels had a nice bright illuminance. I don't remember what the flash power is, but it's real easy for you if you're on manual flash to just kind of season to taste. Kind of flash, see how it looks, and then brighten it or darken it as needed. So once you have the ambient exposure in, then you can bring in the subject and get your shot. So I put another flash. Now that I've got the background flash ready to go, I put the bride in front of the background flash so she would totally block it out, and having her directly in front of it would mean that the brightest part of the frame is directly behind her. You always want the brightest part of the frame to be where the subject is. It helps them stand out. And then I put a mag sphere and mag grid on another flash and put it off 45 degrees at a downward angle so that it was mostly hitting her face and then her body. And it might seem weird to have a focuser and a diffuser. It doesn't make a huge difference, but the grid mostly is going to give me a tight beam so that this light is going to mostly only hit her, the subject. And then the sphere, it just softens that tightness just a little bit so that it kind of can help soften any of the hot spots. It's still a hard light source. It's still a small light source. It's not like I'm using a real softbox. But it helps a little bit, I feel like, with specular highlights. I don't know. We'll see. So after I got the bride in, you see how the light's falling on her. Get her well lit. Make sure that it's nice balance. This is just kind of test shots while I'm talking to her. And then I want to get her smiling, things like that. All right, so then we want to improve the pose. So I'm like, let me get you looking down at your dress, kind of picking up the train, and then, you know, try to get a little bit of action. And then because it is such a hard light source, I want her looking at the light because then that's going to light her face in the most flattering way, you know, and so you don't have any harsh shadows or anything like that. And then you're going to get a really sculpted light on her cheek. As you can see, like I said, since it is a small light source, you're going to get a little bit of a hot spot at times if it's the right angle. So anyway, I decided instead of being a boring stiff pose just standing there, I got her playing with her dress, trying to get some action, trying to make it more interesting. And then I realized I liked her looking up at the light more than just standing there. So I keep her holding her dress. I turn her body away from the light so that way she's going to get more figure and shape, some shadow and dimension. You're going to have some shadow on the front and then some brightness on the shoulders and on the sides here. So usually turning away from light, looking in, it also allows you to sculpt the face here. You got a shadow on the short side of the face. It's called being short lit when the side of the face facing the camera is in shadow and then the other side is bright. So I've got her looking pretty good. Overall, this is the setup of the frame. So I take a couple shots, and then I decide I want it to have a little bit more feeling in it. I don't want it to feel so stiff, so I'm trying to get her laughing while she's still looking at the light, and so it looks like she's kind of looking off at her friends or something, bridal party, and then that's the best frame. And I think the color's a little wonky because I edited it and then re-imported it, so... but anyway, so these are just some action shots. I'm getting her talking, laughing, and then of course some of them aren't going to be flattering, and then some you're going to get it just perfect. So just getting a little bit of action, a little bit of character makes it a lot better. So, you know, this one's pretty good. Got to straighten it and whatnot. And then after I got the bride, the groom came back down from his bathroom break or whatever, so I got them snuggled up together. Did the same shot basically, different shot, but you know, couple shot. Got them nice and close, and get it to where she's short lit. He could be a little bit more broad lit. Cool. And so again, here's the before shot, and then the after, and it's just real quick. It's lighting your background when you're in a background that you like the texture and the shape of your background, but it looks really flat and bland. Throwing a background light in really can change the scene and really make it pop. And then when you're in crappy light, of course, you definitely got to light your subjects, help make their face pop, their skin tones look good. So yeah, there's a 2-light setup. Definitely try to give that a shot on your next shoot. Practice lighting the background and the subject at the same time, and you get a lot more dimension and a lot more interest in your photos. Thanks for checking it out. Hopefully we'll be getting some more lighting tutorials for you soon. Please like and subscribe to the channel so you can get all the videos as they're released. And again, I'm Joshua Grasso, and we'll see you in the next video.